Welcome to Triple F, bringing life to your faith, family, and finance.
Hey, welcome everyone to our Takeaway Thursday Triple F show. We are excited to bring you not only but to breathe life into your faith, family, and finance. And our mission here with Triple F is to provide value for you and content, not only in your faith, family, but in your finances. Just practical ways that will allow you to experience life at a greater capacity. Look, my name is Danny Couture. I have the honor and privilege of hosting the show here every week. It's always exciting to host, but today we're covering all 3 points from the last 3 weeks, and I'm so honored to do it with my team, Sherry and Virgil, who plays the brains behind the operation. Very grateful for them. And so we're going to jump into it and we're going to have fun breaking down some of the takeaways from our guest speakers on faith. And so let's jump into it. All right. So our first takeaway of faith, and we had the privilege of the Mau Mau's, Billy and Michelle Mau Mau, doing our faith. It was such an awesome time with them. But this is some of the things that they share that really governs and put things in perspective for them. Is one is they put Jesus first in their life, and number two is they keep Jesus as the center of their marriage. And that's always tough from a faith perspective, because we all understand the power that Jesus brings to the table, but sometimes we don't understand the how do we practice it daily, right? And so Billy and Michelle, this some of the practical ways is that they're able to, everything is about connecting up. It's a connecting up before they connect into one another, before they connect out to everybody else. Their ability to be able to connect up first. They understand who the source is, that they get their nourishment, and the person who's in charge of their blessings. And those blessings can come in forms of jobs, investments, business. Yeah, that's what Jesus is in charge of. He owns all the resources. Last time I checked, he's never been ran out of cash. He's never filed for bankruptcy. He's just waiting on us to invite him into our lives. One of the things we learn growth-wise in this journey, and we're by far near like somebody who's an expert. We are a practitioner every day. We get to practice and become better every day. But one of the practical things I've learned through my faith is that just open the door. He's standing outside waiting for us to invite him into our house, and there's a responsibility that comes with that, because you have to now learn how to usher that spirit within the house, right? And be able to cultivate it, take care of it, kind of like you're hosting a guest in your house. How would you host a guest? Well, we all do know that. Like we bring out the best things, and we're kind of very diligent and very say frugal or fragile around one another. And we edify, we uplift one another, because we don't want anything bad to happen among our guests, right? Like we only want them to see the best side of us. And so, but that's what happens. It's easier said than done, but it's a constant practitioner of faith. And the beauty of it is that Jesus died for our sins. So, we get to go again. That's the beauty of life, is that when you messed up, just know that your debt has already been paid for, and that we get to go again. So great takeaway. We'll go to the second one, Sherry. Faith takeaway number 2, God loves us unconditional. Understanding that is a game changer. And I could feel the conviction of Billy when he shared uh, how he understood when it went from his head to his heart and really understood the unconditional love of a father, right? Which is him ultimately. And I can tell you, I wasn't aware of it. You hear about it, the teaching, but I think one of the things that Billy talked about was, here we are, we're taught to go to work so that we can earn money, right? We're taught to go to school so that we can learn to education so that we can become greater if of value. But it's, it's obviously we don't take time or teach how to be better in our faith, right? How to love unconditionally. And that's something I'm learning as well, is to love people that don't love you back. My spiritual father walked me to the process. He said, Danny, what's the use of loving someone that loves you back? And that caught me off guard. It's like a left hook that I didn't expect, right? But it made me think, like, yeah, that makes sense. It's easy to love someone that loves you back, right? It's very difficult to love someone when they have hurt you, they have shamed you, guilt you, or caused harm to you. And it's hard to show love to that, right? Like, especially in the world. But what I've learned about God's love is so unconditional. Like, it really doesn't matter, right? Like, all the things, yeah, he's upset at us, but his love never changed. And learning to understand that, but to apply that into our lives. And now we can apply that to our children. Like my wife and I, we share with our kids, no matter what happens, I don't care how worse it can be, our love for you doesn't change. Like, we may be upset, we may be frustrated, but just know that mom and dad's going to stand behind you no matter what. And that's the unconditional love that we get from a father. And once we understand that, I think we find freedom, right, to be able to give that to someone else, because we can't give what we don't have, right? So the ability to be able to give that to someone is golden, right? Like, I think, I know because I've been able to do the work and I'm a work in progress, the ability to give this to someone, and I've seen people on the receiving end of it, how grateful they are. And they earn significant amount of income, way more than I have, or I am doing way more success. But the gratitude that they have towards adding this piece into their life, they feel way more complete than the financial accomplishment or the or outside accomplishment outside of their faith. So it's a great takeaway from Billy. We'll go to the third one, Sherry.
I think some of the biggest
We
problems and issues that I see today is people don't have a circle of foundation, a circle of brotherhood, sisterhood. Because honestly, these days, Danny, uh, we need each other.
mm,
And there is no way that you can make this walk all by yourself. And that's one of the things that I'm learning more and more and more is we need more of us reaching out to each other. We need more of us to create more groups, accountability groups, or whatever you want to call it, because the secular the world is doing it. Why can't we do it?
man.
And I think sometimes we're too afraid to step out and commit to these things. And I think for me personally, these groups have really helped me to deal with the burnout, because we've seen a lot of people who are involved in these small groups that haven't really got the proper training to be able to say, hey, enough's enough. We got to move on. Enough's enough. You got to make a decision. Enough's enough. I'm going to empower you now. So I think once we we get locked in with a group like that, that share the same faith, that share the same ideas, that's a perfect opportunity for us to grow, because they're doing it all the way across the country to deal with mental health. And I told somebody at my work, a couple of weeks ago, this is my mental health, and this is a time where I get to equip myself so that I can come back to work and serve at a higher capacity, to serve with purpose. And it's kind of like playing football, right? It's you replay that play over again, and you're trying to learn from it. You're rewinding stuff to learn it again, to sharpen your skills. And I think these are perfect places for us to help edify each other, lift each other up in the name of the Lord.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that was hot. That was hot. We need accountability groups in our life. I just don't know in any area of life, if you don't have accountability to kind of guide and navigate, hold you accountable, also lift you up, and support you in time of needs. You know, some of us, we think like, I know I can't talk about others, but I can talk about myself. So I used to think if I just stayed in my little circle, I'll be good. And what happens is, I only find in my little circle, I only found people that were little just like me. I mean, like not the physical body little, but the little in thinking, right? Heart set, mindset, in the way we operate. But when you get around a group of people, you stretch yourself, and I think that's kind of like an identity issue, period. But we're talking about accountability right now. When we stretch ourselves outside of our comfort zone, and get around people that thinks bigger than us, right? Like today, I challenge myself to be outside of a group that makes me feel uncomfortable, because I want new growth. I want newness. I want to be able to hear, see, feel, touch, and experience something different that I've already have not known that can add value to my life. And that comes from being around people. So, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, just like Billy said. So many groups in the marketplace today are doing it to better themselves. Why not? Why not us as your faith? Find you a Bible study group, find you or a men's group, start off with it or start one, become one, and then research how you can take the first step. Guys, God's not looking for perfection. He's just looking for obedience, someone to obey. But if we consistently focus on our lack and how comfortable we are with where we are sitting at, we can never really fully become that person that we were designed to be, and might be a little bit too late by the time we figure it all out. So time is, in essence, that we don't have. And I think that's kind of like a commodity today that we know, right? So yes, let's go to the next question. Great takeaway. Takeaway number 4 is practical steps to increase your faith. And so surround yourselves with like-minded individuals. The Mau talked about how they're stretching themselves and joining groups, right? And allowing people to speak into their life. And then prayer obviously is a secret weapon that most of us, we don't think about. We only think about prayer in time of need versus as a daily routine. We don't think we can pray for our businesses, or we can pray for our the marketplace. We only can pray when we go into the 4 walls of a building or a church, right? But prayer is like probably like one of the most underestimated favor that we have as Christian, as believers, that we don't use, right? So exercise it, guys. Use it on a daily basis for all areas of your life and watch God moves majorly within it. Lean into your faith. Billy and Michelle talked about that, is just leaning in. Look, no one's coming. No one's gonna come and save you other than you. And if you're if you're the head of the household, then it starts with you. You work on transforming you. Then after that, you love on your family to transform them. And I like usually most times we see the trash in other people and we try to change other people versus looking in the mirror and changing us. And if we can change us, soften our heart to love like Jesus unconditionally, man, you'd be amazed at how you see things, the same things that you used to see, that you see the treasure in people, that you see the treasure in situation, that you see the treasure in a city, right? That's so full of corruption and things of that nature. So I think that's the last faith takeaway. Sherry, we'll go to our family takeaway. We're moving right along here. Next slide. Family takeaway was so good to have one of my best friends. Really's one of my best friends. And Chris Mambalanga, one of my best friends, to do faith and family back-to-back weeks. And so it's important, and Chris shared this, it's important to stay together as a family in this fast-paced, career-driven, and globalized society and make it a better world. And so he was just saying it's so much better working together as a family, as a team, versus individually trying to do it by yourself. And, we all hear the same thing, team together, everyone achieve more. But in order for a family to work together, there's somebody that has to have the Father's heart of humility and love, have enough love, a Father's heart to be able to permeate towards everyone. Because I think, like most times, based on my experience of what I've seen in growing up, is usually someone who's leading the family. They try to utilize their power to control the movement on the family, and we all understand that control is fake power. There's no power. You may control them for the meeting, but once they leave the meeting, there's no more control, right? So learn. I think that connects with what Billy was sharing earlier about joining groups that helps you to learn new ways on how to build closer connection with family and loved ones in that way. So we'll go to number 2. All right. Takeaway number 2. Everybody doesn't share the same vision, and that's okay. You can just meet them where they are at and keep loving on them. I think this is so, I have learned to learn this. I had a very judgmental mindset. I don't know why. It's just the way I was raised or my association that I was around. But I can honestly admit that today, before I would cover and was in denial, right? But it wasn't that I was very judgmental. It's just, I guess it was my first decision that I only knew. So if you only knew one way to do things, you think that that's the right way, but it's definitely, in my case, was the wrong way, right? And so learning to love people where they're at, love people sacrificially, was something new and foreign to me, so somebody had to teach me that. And most times people fake it or they pretend they know or understand, but based on results, you don't see it. And I tell you, it's been one of the most revelating thing. As Billy was speaking about this, I thought about, like, man, how far, when we do the work, right? Like when we focus on, if we do the work to make money, we do the work to provide for our family, we do the work to put our health in a good place so that we can be healthy. We also got to do the work spiritually and then family wise, right? Nobody's going to come and do it for us in that way. So learn how to love people sacrificially, like love them where they are at. And the way to change them is by the way you love. Is going to change them more by the way you hate, right? And seriously, and for us, it's not our job to change people. Like, our job is to control how we show up and how we love on people in that way. All right, let's move right along to takeaway number 3.
We look for ways to invest more in our family, and there's no better investment to us, at least, than to figure out ways to, uh, uh, spend time together. But not just time, but time where there's, because we spend time every day, dropping them off to school, picking them up. That's not the kind of time I'm talking about. That's everyday deals. I'm talking about the fun times where we go to the beach, we get in, and that stronghold of poverty. Growing up with a poverty mindset, I start to get angry, like, don't order that, and then I had to catch myself as, nah, we're on vacation, we're spending some time, it's only going to cost a little bit more. It's not like it's going to be that much more to invest in seeing my son happy or my daughter happy. It's well worth it. And so for me, man, it's just creating more memories, taking more trips, and thankfully, I'm not really good on details and organization, but my wife is. So I lean heavily on her, and she does all the heavy lifting when it comes to the planning of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Such an awesome video and to share, and as Chris was sharing about creating the time, versus just, I know we can get so busy in just doing, right? But today our children spells love, right? They spell it Time. Is how much time do we spend with them? How much quality time we spend with them? And I used to think that like my job was just to provide and my wife's job was to raise our children. It was so far from the truth. I had a responsibility that I've learned later through growing in my faith, that I'm the head of the house. Now, that's something I didn't know prior to getting married, right? But something I've learned through ministry, that I am the head of the house, and how I lead goes everybody else. And so it's so important that we make time for our family, that we just don't get so busy in the doing. Like I said earlier, our children today spell love, Time. That's love to them. How much time they're spending with us, right? And I'm not trying to say it to guilt a person who's working, multiple jobs to provide or working hard for their family. That's not what I'm saying. You can still find the time. We can all still find time to spend with our family. And so create those fun memories. They go a long way. So, yes, we can go to finance. Oh, yeah. So family's done. That was all the questions for family. All right. We're moving right along here on time. So finances, we had C.A. Murph from Las Vegas, Nevada. Gentleman shared an amazing story on how, he's lived on yacht to starting businesses, to building businesses. I mean, just truly, and being a Microsoft engineer, just unreal, what God was doing in C.A. Murph's heart. But first takeaway is that there'll be plenty of ups and downs in business, but it's the attitude that matters. And I think that's so profound, such a profound statement. There's ups and downs in everything, right? Ups and downs in everything. It's not just business. In sports, like in the field of finances, in ministry, in family, right? I mean, there's ups and downs, and I've heard it once being put this way or framed this way. He said, you can really measure a character of a person by the downtime, like when they fall, when they're being humbled, or reach rock bottom. Right, you can really tell a character of a person. And I somewhat see it, I somewhat agree with that, but you can really tell a character of a person if you give them power. Right? Give them power, see how they respond to that power. That's the character of that person. Because I think it's easy to be humble when you are broken to your to a sense of humility, right? And it's easy to be humble at that point. But when you give somebody power or give somebody a position of power, then you really see how their heart operate for others. Do they speak down to people and things of that nature? Do their attitude change because they now have a position of power? They still uh, under control, care, loving spirit, of humility in that process. But yeah, attitude is everything. It's not just something, it's everything. Like it's not matter what happens to you, it's the attitude that you respond with. I know it's easier said than done, but it's part of what like really was sharing earlier during the faith part is getting around association that thinks in this way, right? I mean, even if you picked up 1%, 1% daily, that's 360% a year that you're a way better person than you were the year before. So great first takeaway. Go ahead to the second one. Second one is that don't sweat the small stuff. All right, don't sweat the small stuff. Look, Jim Rome used to say, major in the major, don't major in the minor, right? Like don't focus on the small stuff, focus on the big things. We let the smallest thing. If you're going after millions, why would you worry about $100, right? It's just kind of an attitude type of deal, and when you can focus on the big things, like don't sweat the big things, you're allowing just the littlest thing to knock you off track, right? And you want to be able to go fast through the process of building business so that it's, when you go fast through a speed bump, you don't really feel the speed bump, right? But if you go very slow to a speed bump, you're going to feel that speed bump, right? That's kind of like, don't sweat the small stuff. Like go through that because you have to get there. Look, if you understood that we all have to be bad before we become good, like be bad, you're going to be bad before you become good. Like pick anything you want to do, right? Let's say you want to write an article. Let's say you want to write a book, right? You're going to be bad before you become good. But if you don't start, no one will ever know. No one will ever know, right? So stop sweating the small stuff. That's what Murph was sharing is when things was happening to him, when life was coming, throwing things at him, he just stayed focused. He kept things in perspective and just kept moving forward, focusing on the major versus the minor. All right, we'll go here to the takeaway number 3. All right, awesome. Do what necessary to move closer to your goal. You must have an attitude, pray, and be within the right association. That's like 3 times association is mentioned, not only in faith, in family, but in finances. I think that's some kind of a correlation there, ladies and gentlemen. Hint, hint. Right? Association is huge. I once heard it being said this way. Show me your 5 friends that I can tell you how much money you have in your bank account, just based on your friends, right? There's also a saying, frame it in a different format, is, if you show me your friend, I'll show you your checkbook, right? Also, birds of a feather flocks together, right? Like you almost tend to do the things that they're doing. So push yourself to have greater association. As I shared earlier, I always want to be humble being around great men and great women of value. And if I can just be a sponge, get one nugget from here, get one key from here, and be able to apply it in my life, whether it's faith, family, or finances, I know that it can impact me way greater than me trying to do it myself. Did you know that wisdom is learning from other people's mistakes? That's wisdom, right? And so we want to learn from the people who have already done it. And don't be afraid to, or don't be afraid and don't be shy to ask for help from people. That's something I overcame. And once I got to start to understand, if I have not because I ask not, I have not because I ask not, I started to ask. And it was so freeing to be able to ask the first gentleman that I look up to mentor me, right, to guide me through this process. And I was so shy when my spiritual father tried to teach or impart upon me how to be a better leader for my family. I just didn't see it. But I'm so glad today that I obey it out, right? I obey it out. Like I saw it through and came out on the other end much better refined and with a better attitude. And that's what the right association does, is it gives you whatever they have, that's what you're going to have. But if you're in the wrong association, the same thing applies. Like whatever they have, you're going to have. It's just the way it works, right? Don't ask me to explain it or where I got it from, but that's how it works. All right, let's go to the last one. It changes everything. It changes everything. But the right action, right? Like, because you can be so busy with the wrong association doing activity, but getting nowhere. You can drive, but if you're going in the wrong direction, you're not going to get to your destination. So awesome. Here's our last one. Sorry about that, everyone. The right action changes everything, right? Just action alone changes the game, but the right action, right? That's the caveat to it. The right action changes everything, but the right action, oh my God, it propels you to a greater capacity. You get from point A to point B versus having to go around 40 years in the desert in circles, right? You want to get there fast, a large amount of change in a short period of time with the right action, right? And so don't be afraid to start. Don't be afraid of doing the wrong things. Be afraid to start, and when you start, go for it. It's so amazing. Like, I know I can share a little bit of my journey, but I didn't know nothing about business. What I wanted was time freedom to really spend with my kids that I didn't have at the time, but I envisioned to have. And how did I come with this? I just saw it through my dad and the sacrifice he made, the struggle that he went through to provide for me and my siblings and my mom. And, he was willing to sacrifice everything to make that happen. And so when I first started in business, all I could think about, like, man, if my dad could do it with no resources, a lack of education, but just he knew his responsibility was to step out and find work. And I'm telling you, my dad literally worked himself to death. But those are valuable lessons that I've learned wisdom from, and it's always inspired me today. Just even when I don't know, but that I pray and then trust God will provide. He will make a way, and that yes, He understands our heart and He understands the desires of our hearts. And so, if we pray it and we claim it and we step out on faith, because faith without work does not accomplish anything at all. Don't go anywhere, right? It's dead, simply. But if you apply action to your work, you definitely will see results and good results at the end. So just wanted to share those things. I think that's it for our takeaway Thursday. Do we have one more, Sherry? Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. We have Sherry. Sherry and Virgil has put together this free ebook, and this is all practical ways to better your faith, your family, and your finances. Guys, get it while it's free. I'm telling you, if you understand the value of something, I would invest into it, and I would pay for it. But one day we will charge this. But for right now, it is free for you to go and subscribe to it at DannyCouture.com. So visit our page, like us on Instagram, Facebook, our social media platform of Triple F. Share this with your friends and family that you love, and support them as well in their growth as well. And if you need any questions about anything that we share here today that you want to find out more about, we can definitely connect you back with all of our guest speaker. And then also I can answer any question that I can help support you with your need, right? And so with that being said, blessings and aloha. Thank you for all this support. And we look forward to seeing you on our faith show next week with our special guest speaker, Mr. and Mrs. Sayu. Aloha.